All right, hello everyone, it's silverkyle, and today we're going to be going over everything that I picked up in the month of June 2023, and I'm feeling a lot better since my last video where I had a horrible cold. My voice was crap. It's still kind of there, but I'm doing a lot better since then. So let's dive into this with everything that I picked up. We've got some omnibus, video games, and books as well. So let's dive into the first one here, which I did a unboxing for, and that is the Final Fantasy 16, the deluxe edition. On PlayStation 5. I can't wait to dive into this. I haven't had a chance to dive into it. I'm either going to be trying it tonight or tomorrow. One of my friends got this on release day, and he's already beaten it and platinumed it on PlayStation 5 already. He was just right into it. He generally just destroys any video game that he really sets his mind to. But yeah, that was wild that he's already done Final Fantasy 16. He beat Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. He was 80 hours into that within like the first week or so. Like, he's dedicated. When he likes a game, he just dives right into it. What I also liked with the deluxe edition is that it did come with a pretty nice steelbook. Not the greatest steelbook, but it's pretty nice. Backs, I really like the back because I'm not the biggest fan of this kind of art for Final Fantasy, but in the back, that looks really nice because I always like the front having some interesting stuff. Now, the other thing too is that it did come with a standard copy, so that just makes me extremely happy because that's generally how I like to display my video games. Another one that I just got this yesterday, and I should have done an unboxing, but I didn't yet, and that is the Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life Premium Edition. So this is a remake of the GameCube game A Wonderful Life. Although this has the female version as well, so I think this is like another wonderful. No, I don't remember. This is a remake of the GameCube game. I have played that game because my brother used to have it. We were massive Harvest Moon fans back in the day. So I will be doing an unboxing of this potentially for tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. Let's dive into the omnibus because I think that's what a lot of you are here for as well. But I did do an overview for these two omnibus that I have, and that is the Uncanny X-Men Volume 5. Quite a thick chunker. What's so fun about this one is that it bridges basically a gap, and now we have like the first like 300 or so X-Men issues. I can't remember, or is it 400? It's 300 or 400. I can't remember. There's quite a bit of X-Men material out now, though. It's crazy how many that you can now read from beginning to end and be fully caught up until like, I think it's the 90s, I believe, like from the 60s to the 90s. That's insane. That's unheard of. They're the first ones to get that much in a row. It's crazy. One that I would have expected to kind of get it at the same time or very close to was the Amazing Spider-Man, and we are getting closer, especially with the Mark Bagley omnibus that we're getting next year, and David Michelini, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. I'm sorry for that, but that is, I think, an omnibus that a lot of Spider-Man fans are looking for. Mark Bagley, to me, is the best Spider-Man artist. Second, and the second would be probably John Romita Jr., just because I grew up with him. That was like a lot of my era. Peter Parker Spider-Man. I loved his art. I absolutely loved it. But anyway, The Amazing Spider-Man Beyond, which is one of the latest runs that they have. I think this is what, issues 75 or something like that, or is that? I guess this is 75. Yeah, 75 to 93. So it's right after the Nick Spencer run. We are getting the volume 2 later this year, I believe. So we're going to have those all completely up to date in terms of Spider-Man for modern stuff for the last 3-4 years or whatever it would be. But we still got some major gaps. The biggest gap would be Amazing Spider-Man 5 to the Roger Stern. I think if we get a volume 6 with about 40 or 45 issues or something like that, that would at least clear up that gap. But then I think after Roger Stern, there's probably another gap there too that they'd have to get up to. Yeah, so there's still quite a bit, but we're getting there slowly, and X-Men's just doing an amazing job. Like, X-Men, I think, is going to be the first one that actually gets pretty much everything up until whatever the latest modern run would be, which is insane. I feel like in the next 3-4 years, maybe we might have everything for X-Men, and potentially even Amazing Spider-Man at that point too, because Spider-Man has a lot of more modern stuff and 2000 stuff, whereas X-Men was more so like the older stuff, like the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s runs. They have a few new stuff too. All right, let's dive into the books here as well. We've got 0 Days by Ruth Ware. I remember seeing this, and I don't remember what it's about. Okay, yes, it's a couple that works, I think, in tech potentially. No, they're security breach specialists. It's a husband and wife, and the husband dies, is murdered, and they're looking at the wife as the main culprit. And it's kind of like fugitive vibes that I'm getting from this. So that just seemed like my cup of tea. Also, this foil. I mean, I love comics, so obviously I'm gonna love this, right? Like that, just it's shiny. That makes me happy. But I've also heard of the IT girl, and I think the woman in cabin 10, I believe. So it was just something that I was like, okay, yeah, that's definitely something I'm going to pick up. Another one is the Librarianist, and I thought that this was a murder or like a mystery novel, and I think it potentially still is, but it's an older gentleman who works at a library and he volunteers, I think, at this old shelter, or potentially that's part of it is the library that he volunteers at, and while he's there, he starts to recount things that happened previously in his past. And I think there's even some romance in here. I have no idea what this is necessarily about, but the author is Patrick Dewitt, who did write the Brother Sisters or the Sisters Brothers, the Sisters Brothers. So that's kind of exciting. He also wrote The French Exit, and there was another few here. Ablutions and Under Majordomo Minor. I don't know the other two. I've heard of French Exit and Sisters Brothers. Sisters Brothers had a movie with Jake Gyllenhaal and the guy from Step Brothers. What's his name? John C. Reilly, I think. And who else? The guy from Gladiator, the bad guy from the Joker as well. It's completely out of my mind. I'll remember it as soon as I'm done the video. And last but not least, we have The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England by Brandon Sanderson, which potentially might be my first ever Brandon Sanderson book, which I don't think is necessarily the greatest type. I don't know. Because I would like to get into the Cosmere, obviously, but I would like to start at the beginning. And the other thing, too, that I kind of want to do is I think I could just jump into the Cosmere at any point. Well, from the beginning, because I would want to read. I think Elantris is the first one. I can't even remember which one's the first one, and then I think it goes into the Mistborn trilogy. But either way, I do want to get into Sanderson. I just don't want to dive necessarily into any of the Cosmere books, although I am very tempted to get into some of the ones that he's releasing this year, his secret projects. Spoiler alert, this is the second one. I won't say anything else about the others because I think a lot of people really do care about that. But yeah, I'm thinking of potentially starting this one. If anybody knows Brandon Sanderson, and you can let me know, should I start with this one or should I just read something else from Cosmere? But as far as I know, this has nothing to do with Cosmere and it's completely on its own. So that kind of has me excited to kind of dive into. It's really nice too, like the artwork in here. That's really nice. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And I have no idea what this is about. I didn't really want to look into it necessarily. Do we have a list of all the costs? Like, oh man, it's just so much nice. They did a good job with this. It's kind of fun when he makes a Kickstarter. I think it's the biggest Kickstarter of life. But well worth it. Oh, here's everything he's written. That's wild. Look at that. Dude writes so many books every year. 4 books this year. Wild. Anyway, that's everything that I picked up for the month of June. So let me know in the comments below if you know about Sanderson and what you picked up in the month of June. Thank you all for watching. You've been bearded in. Beardage.